Minutes. H1, regular Board of Trustees meeting August 14th, 2018 are in front of us for approval. We have a motion.
Move. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing no one, move to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. I, time certain. We have nothing under I for time certain, so we'll move to J, public comments. At this time, members of the public may address the Board of Trustees regarding a matter of public interest not appearing on the agenda, but within the subject matter jurisdiction of the governing board. Per Ed Code 35145.5 and Government Code 54954.3, no action may be taken on comments of off-agenda items unless specifically authorized by law. In order to address the Board of Trustees, the Speaker has the option of completing and submitting a blue card to the Board's recording secretary prior to the start of open session. Speakers wishing to address the Board of Trustees after the first public comment section of the agenda will have the opportunity to do so during any other public communication to the Board of Trustees later in the meeting. If the Speaker wishes to address the Board of Trustees on an item on the agenda, time will be provided at the commencement of that item. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person. Per Board Bylaw 9323, the Speaker will address the President of the voting when speaking to the Board of Trustees. Clerk, Clayton Clark, do we have public speakers?
We do. We have 4, and we're going to begin with John Briscoe.
I'm here tonight to invoke, but I would be remiss if I didn't draw your attention to the fact that in our Pledge of Allegiance, there is no comma in one nation under God. It's one sentence. If you would bow your head and prepare yourself as is your custom, God, please grant us your wisdom, guidance, joy, and delight as we work on behalf of the people of the Ocean View School District tonight. Amen.
Our next speaker is Judy Johnston.
We don't like.
So do I just start?
You just state your name.
Well, it's in the beginning, so I will. So good evening, members of the Ocean View School Board. My name is Judy Johnston, and I am the database analyst in the IT department and have been with the district for over 7 years. I'm emotional here. After our district meeting last Thursday, where it was stressed relationships matter, I felt compelled to speak to you tonight. A few years ago, I almost took a position with higher pay in a neighboring district. People asked why I didn't leave. It was the relationships in Ocean View School District that made me follow my heart and stay. Here at the district office, we have amazing people. I have been fortunate to work with people like Barb Davis, who wears so many different hats, Julie Jennings, who was a lifesaver with communications pieces this summer, the Cindy's and Janet, who are always there to help anyone and everyone in the district office that has a need. The list could go on and on. But the real reason I'm here tonight is to give well-deserved recognition to our team in IT. I have been employed in IT departments in an insurance company, a manufacturing company, and a university. I have never experienced the work demands made on such a small team of technicians like we have at Ocean View School District. But the amazing thing is our small team pulls together each year as the workload increases and gets an incredible amount of work done. Although we can't possibly get every new project done due to our numerous daily requests for service, just this summer alone, we have installed Westminster technology at Sun, installed new servers at the district office, new access points, the emergency mass notification system, new Konica Minolta copiers district-wide. We've implemented clever badges, a new Aries communication tool, an Aries mobile app, an online application and accounting system for transportation, ClearPaths and Airways, and much, much more. I could go on and on. Lately, we have had some laughs when people call and ask if we had a relaxing summer with everyone gone. Our summer was anything but easy. I am so proud of our team and the relationship we have where we back each other up when needed during these extremely stressful times. We may be driven to an early grave, but at least I know my team will be there with me. Of course, our team could not be successful without the leadership and guidance of our director, Rick Larson. He is far and above the best manager I've ever worked for. He has such a strong passion for this district and doing what is best to keep our technology growing. I recently read an article by Forbes on the 7 leadership skills most managers lack. Rick Larson demonstrates strong abilities in all of these areas. He is good at seeing the best solution, good at seeing things from another's perspective. He is skilled at allowing which means not overreacting early, but seeing the best solution unfold. He fosters intellectual curiosity by asking us questions about our opinions. He uses critical thinking to make OVSD technology even better. He connects the dots by working out scheduling problems to get the most of his employees. He shows humility by respecting our areas of expertise. And he is a great coach by not only being hard on us at times, but by listening and showing empathy. Most importantly, our respect for Rick Larson is strong because we know he's there working harder than any of us, especially when times are tough.
Thank you. Next speaker is Emily Anderson.
Hello, my name is Emily Anderson. Nice to see everyone back. I just wanted to come, as I think many know, I'm a parent of my now youngest is starting at Hopeview, so I'm like kind of all the feels right now. I don't have to give his teacher a bottle of wine. But I just wanted to encourage, I know my good friend here is recording this on Facebook, and I've spoken to many teachers personally myself, parents, etc., who, because of various reasons, don't come to board meetings. They feel nervous because of so much of the negativity that's come about over the time, and I just want to encourage everyone. You know, we're starting a new year. Yes, I'm sad summer's gone, but I'm kind of excited, you know, as time goes on, that, you know, the kids will get into new things. I got my son's orientation today for kindergarten. Couldn't be happier with his teachers. Shout out to Miss New Year in Fairchild at Hopeview. And I just want to encourage everybody, if you're watching this, if you're at home, you know, parents, come speak. This board is elected by all of us to serve all of us and to make what we need to happen for our children. There's a lot of great people on this board, and I just want to encourage everyone to, you can't get things to happen for your kids if you don't come and make your voice heard. Things aren't going to happen that you want to happen if you don't come and speak up to the board. And I would like to see the positivity, the good voices come and be more than any negative that may show up. There's many good people here in the crowd today, and I just want to, you know, really impart on people to, you know, push off whatever negative you're, you know, worried about. You can come at 6 o'clock right now, like I am at 6:15 to be exact, and come in the first public comment, say what you want to say, and leave if you're concerned about any negativity or whatever. But you can't get things to happen in your kid's school unless you come and speak up and make your voice heard. I want to wish everyone a great start of the school year. I wish the best for the board. I hope and pray for agreements and great things to happen, and everyone to speak respectfully of each other. And, you know, we're all working together for hopefully one great cause. I appreciate everyone who I've spoken with for various reasons on this board over whatever capacity, and I just hope everyone will have respect for each other and treat each other with, you know, respect like adults should. And happy 2018-2019. That's all.
Thank you. Nowie, what's his Pokey?
Hi, good night. This is now Mr. Bochli, and I agree with the speaker that was before me. And I see this community as like multi-ethnic community, and instead of us fighting against each other, we should learn more about each other. There's people that are running for school board, and they're not even here. I've been coming the last 3 weeks, and if you're running for a school board, shouldn't you be here early and see what the issues are? But some people want to use this board for political issues and for opportunist reasons. But I see a lot of friendly, good people in this board today, and again, we should be learning about each other and not go by the stereotypes, what the media tells us of what the Muslims are, what the Jewish people are, what the indigenous people are, what the Mexican people are. We should be learning about our history. That's why history is important. We just learn the negativity of immigrants or refugees, but a lot of these people that come here from other parts of the world, they're trying to escape oppression, and then they come here to hear more oppression, or they're used as the scapegoats. And hopefully, the people that are listening to the live feed, they study the issues and they see the people that are running, see their connections, because some of these people are, again, they're using the board or the school or a way to make them, and they get a name for themselves to promote their racist agenda. And again, you don't have to be white to be a white supremacist. I met brown people that think they're Nazis, and there's people out there. There's crazy people all over the world. And thank you very much. You guys have a good day.
Thank you. That concludes our public comments this evening.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to K, communications. K1, written communications to the board superintendent.
We have no written communications this week.
Thank you. K2, board committee reports. Superintendent, any of those?
No.
All right, thank you. Moving right along, trustee communications. Trustee Singer. See, you have your pin on there. You want to go ahead and go first?
Hi, welcome back. Tomorrow's the first day of school. I'm super excited. I have 2 middle schoolers, so I will have 1 drop off and 1 pickup. I haven't had that in a long time, so I'm super excited. I was present at your employee kickoff last Thursday, and I want to commend Dr. Hansen for having that. It was an amazing event. You could feel the energy in the room. It was just energetic, it was fun. You could feel everybody just so happy to be back working together as a team. And I walked away from there going, God, these people are, I already know you're amazing, but it made me feel even, oh my God, they're super amazing. So I'm really, really happy and proud to represent you guys and see how good you all work together. It was an exciting event. It was a very happy event, and I was happy that I was there. I want to hope and wish all of you a great 2018-2019 school year. I hope that it's successful for all of us. And I wish you guys a good night as well.
Thank you. Trustee Westwell?
I just want to welcome everybody back who hasn't been working through the summer, and hope everybody enjoyed their time off. And I'm looking forward to a great new school year and seeing some real student achievement in this upcoming year. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Clayton, ready?
I am ready. Welcome back to the 10-month employees, and to all of you 11 and 12-month employees. You have been here working your tails off through the summer, and of course we appreciate you. Know that the board, especially as a teacher, I appreciate you, because I know when I come back to my classroom at Cerritos and I walk in and it's like sparkling and wonderful, I go, the maintenance staff is here. The carpets are clean, everything's rearranged, everything looks great, and it's just amazing. And we just appreciate all of the employees that are here year round, because as teachers we have it, well, easier than you'll have to admit. And so we thank you. One thing that I wanted to mention was that at the kickoff that we had on the 30th, I was pleased to be able to be there and to see our Vice President, John Briscoe, address the employees. Because our president, being a teacher as well, he had to be in early, and it was his first week of school. It was actually my second week, and I go in later in the morning, so I was able to come. But Trustee Briscoe did a really great job. Good job, Trustee Briscoe. Great message. I agree with everything you said, and our employees are the best, and they're producing the best. So as a parent, I appreciate all of our teachers, and I appreciate the message that you gave to the teachers and staff. Okay, what else? Oh, we saw Dr. Dwayne Dishno today. He is a board member at the Huntington Beach Union High School District, and he offered me something very interesting. He offered me to come visit the Westminster High School farm. Apparently their farm is really big, and really in great shape now. They've done a lot of improvements, and it's supposed to be a really amazing place. And I'm gonna go take a visit with Dr. Dishno, it looks like next week, and I'm gonna bring back my impressions about that to be able to share with the superintendent to hopefully make some connections for our Golden View farm and the Westminster farm. And lastly, I want to say that I ran into a past OVSD employee recently, and I want to tell you about something that this person said. This person is now at a different school district and said, you know, I really, really miss Ocean View. I get paid more where I'm at now, but it's not the same, and maybe it's not even worth it. And he said, Ocean View has such structure, it has such systems. It's such an amazing place to work because we are truly cared for, and we have a boss. I had a boss that listened to me, and he said, you know, I really miss Jim Choate. You out there, Jim Choate?
Yep.
I mean, Jim Choate's name was said to me as pining for Jim Choate. So anyway, the point is that it's just great, and our past employees miss Ocean View School District.
All right, thank you. Trustee Briscoe?
I have 4 items. First, I'd like to commend Dr. Conroy for his continued effort to obtain new trade term discounting. I'm going to belabor it no more than to say that I believe we're the only school district in the state of California that knows enough about finance and business management to pursue this particular matter to the benefit of our school district finances. It's money in our pocket every time he succeeds with a new account. Thank you, Dr. Conroy. 2, the writing continuum is phenomenal. Ocean View, I believe, will shortly be recognized for the enormity of the conceptual curriculum, and from that, the extraordinary job executing and getting it executed at the site level. So, Dr. Hanson, great job, thank you, and I commend you for continuing with it and not going to the next flavor of the week. What you've said is that this is the program and we're going to use it and stick with it for all grades K through 8. Thank you very much. Please go do it. 3rd, our PE program for middle school is a real program. We really haven't had a program in our district for PE for middle school forever or for a long time. So that's another huge effort because it also requires double shift flows changing, keeping the students active and busy while they're waiting, and a whole lot of other moving parts and pieces. And then last, I attended the kickoff and was pleased to be able to speak to everybody from the stage on behalf of Ocean View School District. And we really succeed on the shoulders of our instructional staff and our support staff. We don't do it ourselves at the board or the administrative level. And all of our workers were there, ready, willing, and able to go out and work and make our district the best it is and can be. So thank all of you, the few representatives here from Margaret and Jason, on behalf of.
Thank you. I'm going to keep it short. I know I'm actually glad to not see so many teachers in the audience because I know that they have the students returning tomorrow. And I can see Ms. Friedman, a little bit of an expression of gratitude that we're moving along so quickly. I am a teacher as well, and it's always like the breaking of the ice, I guess. I saw an old Northern Exposure episode where the ice breaks, and it's always like that, at least at my school. We have the kids all line up on the first day, and they can't pass the rope, and then they take the rope out, and they kind of hang back there, and then all of a sudden the bell rings, and the ice breaks, and all the students move in the sport, and it feels like that every year to me, that there's this, we're all waiting for this to happen. We have those days getting ready, and so breathe. It's going to happen just fine. We're a great district, and we do great things. I'd like to thank Trustee Briscoe for stepping in for me at the opening ceremonies. I appreciate that. I had heard you did a great job. I would like to really commend our administrative staff on the relationships matter idea that we're promoting, or the theme, the theme that we're promoting this year. I think that is phenomenal, and I really appreciate what Ms. Johnston said. But I'm glad to see those relationships are not just happening at the student level, but they're happening at the administrative level. Because if they're happening there, then they're definitely making their way down all the way to the students. And that's really what keeps a district. That's what keeps people wanting to come back to our district, are the relationships that we forge here. We've always had that in Ocean View, and I'm glad to see that we're focusing on it this year. A couple things came up. I get this recurring story from people, and so I thought I'd clarify it on YouTube or whatever, and for the audience here as well. I'm not a millionaire. A lot of people think, oh, you're on the board. You got it made now, right? You don't have to do anything at all. You just lay back and show up twice a month and everything's golden. I'm a teacher at Long Beach Unified School District, where I've been a teacher for 18 years. I'm not even like the highest man on the totem there. I'm in the trenches with everybody else. The work I do on the board is, for the most part, voluntary. We do receive about a little over $200 a month for showing up at different meetings and different things that we do. And there is the option of taking health coverage if we want to, in full disclosure. But I can no way retire on the money that I make on the board in any way, shape, or form. I can't really even make one of my kids' car payments with it. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that, because we get a lot of people out there saying, like, I think they think we're like congressmen flying to DC every week or every month, and that's not the case. I love what I do. I love working for the board. I'm excited by the work that we do. I love seeing the positive changes that we're able to make on a monthly, weekly, monthly basis. And I do it because I love it. I do it because I love Ocean View School District. And that's why I continue to do it. Anyways, thank you. I'll come back later on. All right. Bear with us. That moves us on to K4, Superintendent's Communication. Superintendent.
Well, welcome back to school. We did have our Relationships Matter theme Welcome Back kickoff last week, as the board has shared. And it is wonderful that we have great relationships among our staff. We have relationships with staff and families in the community. But one of the most important relationships is the teacher-student relationship. That interaction that happens between the teacher and the student is the most powerful thing that happens on a daily basis in a student's lives. And we really tried to emphasize that. We heard from a panel of adults, and I want to acknowledge them. They are involved citizens in our community who came and spoke about their positive relationships that they had with teachers when they were students in Ocean View. Our own City Councilman Eric Peterson was present, and he spoke about relationships with teachers. Joel Peterson, who is our former school resource officer and a police officer in the Huntington Beach Police Department, spoke. We also had our own teachers, Kristen Spencer, our own Jim Jote. We also had Leslie Sheridan, who's a member of our PTO roundtable. And we had another woman who is an attorney, Barbara Ginsburg. All of them were former students who are leading successful lives, giving back to Ocean View, who talked about the relationship they had with their teachers while here and the lasting impact they had. And it was so wonderful that so many of our board members could be there to witness that, and it was a very positive feeling tone to the event. I also want to thank our union leaders for speaking and being present and giving that welcoming message. And we do want to keep with our theme of Relationships Matters. We have buttons for all of our staff, and we have them, you'll get them at your school sites. We have them for all of our board members, and we want to just keep with that theme of Relationships Matter. I want to give a shout out to some of people who have made donations to our schools just recently. Students really enjoy the beginning of school when they have nice new stuff. And among that new stuff is a nice new backpack. But many of our students can't afford to get new things every year. But thanks to the donations of some different organizations, students at College View were given new backpacks, not all the students, but we had about 40 backpacks donated from On Track. We had another 100 backpacks donated from the Keywins group, which is a student group out of Marina and Edison High School, thanks to Trustee Briscoe's wife, Debbie Briscoe, who's the sponsor, connected us with the Keywins group, who donated about 100 backpacks to Oakview. And also Mariners Church donated quite a few backpacks to Westmont School. So it's so nice to have so many groups that come and make those extra donations and pass those out to our students. I was over at the interim school site where Westmont is housed. Dr. Conroy is going to show you some beautiful pictures of how the campus is sprucing up. And it's going to be so exciting because it's the first time that we welcome the Westmont students with the Sunview students for the very first time. So we are excited about that change. We also have a lot of, not a lot, but a handful of new staff members, quite a few classified staff, but we had a new teacher orientation last week where we welcomed about 21 plus teachers, mostly in special education. We have some speech and language, pathologists, psychologists, clinical social workers, and teachers new to our staff, and we welcome them. So thank you to Mr. Avila and the HR department for hosting that event.
Thank you. All right, K5, PTA, PTO, PTSA, PTSO President's Roundtable. And they're probably getting their kids ready for school, I guess. K6, Employee Associations Communications. You guys want to Rochambeau, who goes first? All right, Mr. Bozart.
Good evening. My name is Jason Bozarth, and I am the Classified Chapter President for Chapter number 375. And I would like to start by welcoming everyone back. I hope everyone had a great weekend and a great summer, as always. I would think it would be safe to say that it's been a busy summer for our district, for the classified staff, even many teachers. Both the district and our organization have emerged from the summer with laser focus on several important goals that we would like to accomplish over the year. As a side note, I spoke briefly with one of the science teachers from Lakeview, and I asked him point blank, I said, do relationships really matter? And he looked me straight in the eye and said, absolutely, unless of course they multiply themselves by the speed of light squared. And at that point, relationships do really energy. By the way, if you get that joke, thank a science teacher. On a more serious note, however, upon returning from our yearly conference, in conjunction with our statewide organization, we have dedicated our efforts towards member outreach and education. This new campaign seeks to positively educate each and every member about the importance of collective action for equity and justice in the workplace, in addition to making everyone aware of all the benefits that CSEA has to offer. This campaign is summed up in 2 words: I'm in. So if you hear that being bantered about, you know what's going on. It is my profound hope that this new campaign can also serve to educate the district about, and our community, about the importance of having a dedicated staff that is also empowered and appreciated. When an employee is made to feel as if though they matter, either through an association or direct district intervention through the fostering of relationships, then their work becomes their passion. In addition to our monthly orientations, there are a host of training sessions and benefit services that are being made available to our new members, some for the first time. So it promises to be an exciting year for all of us, in a good way. May it be the first of many. Thank you all very much, and have a good evening.
Thank you. OVTA.
Good evening, President Souders and trustees and Superintendent Dr. Carol Hansen. I'm just here to speak really briefly about all the preparation that we've all been doing to get ready for the school year, and it's now finally going to happen tomorrow, and I'm very, very excited. I got to attend a really good committee that we have formed with the school district called the Blueprint Committee, and we are developing a message for the community and for all of us to communicate really what Ocean Beach School District is about, and I'm excited to see that this communication will be consistent and extremely positive. Also, we had 3 teachers attend interest-based communication along with all the administration, and so again, we're really improving the communication in our school district, or focusing, not improving because it's great, but really truly focusing on communication, and of course at relationships, and relationships matter. I was very, very moved at the kickoff with the panel. Everybody it was so well received. I did not hear one negative thing about the kickoff. They said it's like one of the best they've ever been to, so it was really, really exciting. And we also got prepared. We have a full day of professional development, teachers do, and we focused on universal design of learning to really meet the needs of every single student, every individual need, and all students in the Ocean View School District. And we're going to do a multi-tiered approach for student success. And I'm excited to see how that rolls out, and it's going to take time, but I left that professional development with tons of resources, and I'm ready to get started. Also, we had very relevant DOK, depth of learning. We've been working on that all last year, learning about it, and now we got really practical hands-on applications. So thank you. It was fantastic, and we also were able to give input on how to communicate our report card better. So that was really great. And I am in agreement with John and our writing continuum. I got to present that to the kindergarten parents, and focusing on printing and handwriting and being able to hold your pen and pencil correctly really reassures them that we're not just going to let them do whatever willy-nilly. So I really think that that is something important that he brought to all of us, and we have the materials from kindergarten all the way up to 8th grade. Thanks.
I have a question.
This is the first time I've heard a specific reference to hold the dang pencil correctly. Would you share your experience with the feedback from the parents on that particular matter, especially ones that have older children that clutch the thing like that?
Well, I haven't, it was just that I think the parents were reassured that we are going to go to the fundamentals, and we're not going to just stop and work on just writing letters anyway, but really focus on holding the pencil correctly. We have materials to do that, to develop their thumb and their to hold it correctly, their thumb and their index finger, and really we have the chalk, we have just the way to do it. And that's just from the kindergarten level. And I'm a kindergarten teacher, and I'm really, really tired because I've spent many, many hours preparing for that first day of school.
Thank you. Okay, L, reports. L1, construction update. Deputy Superintendent, I think that's your field of expertise. I don't know if you have construction
President Sivers, trustees, Dr. Hanson, this will be our update, particularly as it relates to our interim site, Westmont School, for the 2018-19 school year and progress at Oak. A lot of these photographs are as of Saturday morning, so they're fresh, and there's been a lot of work. There were actually workers there over the weekend still doing the last minute touch-ups to get ready for the school year. So you'll see this sign out in front of the school, welcoming students back for tomorrow. So again, here's the layout that we had in at the very beginning. We started to talk about the modernization for the interim site. So this is the front. We've put fencing all around the perimeter of the school. This is the front of the school, did not have fencing before. So we have brand new chain link fencing in the front. The concrete pad right here, we're going to have an electronic marquee that will be placed on there as soon as it comes in. Here's another view of the front of the school. As you can see, the parking lot has new slurry coat, new painting, stalls for parking. The yellow line back up in the curb here, this is going to be for bus drop-off. So the bus is going to go right up to the curb. This is another view, and this yellow line from the crosswalk area all the way down to the end here will be for bus drop-off. So as I showed in previous slides, last slide I showed you, this was all rebar, and this was done as part of the ADA work that we had to do around the buildings. As you can see, these buildings and the hallways, even the top of the overhang, have been power washed and cleaned, ready for students and staff to come to school. And here you can see Jim Choate and Craig Semple helping staff move the lunch tables underneath our new canopy, lunch canopy. Understand that the singer had an opportunity to visit last week.
Are you looking something?
I shared this photograph last time where we were bringing the modular buildings in, and this is what the building looks like now, all put together. So it's the new NPR for the site, and it's 3 portables wide. It's a big space. So this is the staff parking lot, and hard to see, but right in here there are rolls of turf. This is how they bring the turf onto the site to put it, lay it down, and this was laid on in the playground area, which I'll show you shortly. So you can say that they roll them up here. They use the forklift to pull it off the trailer, and then they roll it into the playground area. So you can see one of the rolls here. These bollards right here were required by the Edison company. This is their electrical panel because we needed to bring in more electrical for all the portables. And they did not want vehicles going back and forth through there, so that was one of the requirements to put those bollards in there so that vehicle access could not go back and forth. But this will be the pathway the students will take to go from the big blacktop area to the playground area. So here's another view of that same area. You see the workers are prepping the area, and they're rolling out the carpet. So this is what it looks like when it's all been laid down. So it really looks sharp. So these are the same playground area apparatuses that were there before. We've cleaned them up, ready to go for the first day of school. This is the new drive area that comes off the street side that goes all the way to the staff parking lot. You can see they have now the cement parking curbs and striping. And this is the gate access coming into the campus from the parking lot area. This is looking out onto the blacktop area, completely restored again. And you can see the new ball walls that have been placed, and we're painting them to match the rest of the building facades. Here is the lunch shelter. It's a very solid structure. And you see the lunch tables are underneath and ready to go. So this will definitely be around by the time we finish our modernization project in 8 years. So that is Westmont, the interim site. Now we'll go to Oakview, and they're prepping for the foundation footings. A little bit of work. It doesn't look like much has changed from last time. But they're starting to get the footings all lined up for the concrete to be poured hopefully this week. This is the area where the old lunch shelter used to be, and we've replaced it here and laid some asphalt down, and this is actually the temporary shade structure that was at Sun. Last year we moved it over here for Oak while we're doing the construction, so this will be the area that students will be able to have their lunch under a shade structure. So that concludes my report.
Board questions? Trustee Westphal?
Yes, Dr. Conway, the turf at Westmont, are we going to restrict access on that while that turf roots? Or are we going to let students on there right away back to school?
I know there's usually a germination time period. I don't know exactly what it is.
I would hope that we restrict that. And I don't want to destroy that grass right after we put it in, because it can happen pretty quick. So I hope we can take that into consideration. Thank you. Another question?
Trustee? Okay, Trustee.
I'm already hearing some confusion with the name of the school. This is not Westmont. It's the interim site. I still call it Sunview in my mind. I think most people do. Is there any other name we can give to the school site besides interim site?
Well, we call it the interim site Housing Westmont. It's a long, and it's actually Westmont School for this year.
I know.
Next year it will be college, but it is the interim site.
On the ball wall, can you just paint like a big OVSD since it's going to house everybody?
We could do that.
I don't know, I'm just thinking, just to like bring it all together, like it's one big district effort, happy family. Or something. I don't know. It just seems. Sun West, I like that. Say that louder, Trustee Westmont. He said Sun West. Kind of like it. But anyway, just to, I don't know, it just seems odd to keep calling it an interim school site. I'm not sure. I don't know, it just doesn't sit well with me.
Well, it does get confusing because now that we're actually modernizing Westmont,
Yeah.
and someone will say Westmont, and are you talking about the interim site or are you talking about Westmont School? So that's why we're calling it the interim site, because it helps to delineate which school site we're talking about.
I know. I almost thought it would be better to just keep it as Sunview. And everybody knows they're at Sunview when they're in their interim period. I don't know, it's just a thought.
Trustee Singer?
Interim site is fine.
Briscoe?
It's a moving target. That long giant word you have for it is not a good description.
ISS, you could call it interim school site, ISS for sure. I'm glad to see the progress that we're making, thank you. Glad to see that our employees were looking with their legs and not their backs. It's good. And I realize that it looks slow at first. Construction is that way. For those of you who don't know construction, foundations always take a long time and then everything goes up really fast and then it slows down again. So I'm not, I'm impressed. You guys did a good job, thank you.
Well, I'd have to do a shout out to, as Johnson said earlier, IT has been working over the summer, maintenance operations staff have been there all summer long. Custodians across the district have put in their help over there. There's been a lot of help from the classified support staff to really help get the interim site ready for Westmont to open up the school year for 2018-19.
If I could, and this just came to me because I'm in school now, it's my second week of school, and I was looking at those vertical yellow cement-filled posts that you have on the way out to the playground, and I was thinking of children running eagerly out to the playground, and I don't want to see anyone running headlong into those posts, because for me, they're like waist level, which is bad enough, but for kids, it's like forehead level. You may want to talk to teachers about maybe having the kids line up there and then walk out there, and then when they come back, line up on one side of the post and walk back through them so they're not.
That would be a principal responsibility in terms of addressing proper protocol in terms of moving to and from that area. And it will be a supervision issue that the principal is already working on.
Okay, thank you. I don't know who was first.
Well, I didn't finish, and I'm sorry, but I wanted to say that it looks really good. Like, you all did a really good job in making it, you know, the facade looks good, the slurry, the new sign in front looks great, and the grass, just everything. It just looks totally refreshed, and that's really a welcome sort of upgrade to the neighborhood. In the past, I've heard complaints from neighbors that things don't always look good, or the fields, it's because a lot of soccer gets played there and sports and things, so it looks really great. That's really all I wanted to say.
On that point, Jim Choate was on campus recently, one of the weekends, and neighbors came over, and he ended up entertaining a little group of them, talking about the work that's been done, letting know that that's Measure R, and their comments were very similar, that this is the best the school's looked in a long time, and they thanked it. So the community's taking note.
Oh, definitely. That's what I hear as well. It looks great.
Trustee Westbrook?
Agreed. I've seen the site and it's shaping up very, very well. So congratulations on that. I'm just wondering, is there any issues or timeline problems that this board should be aware of as we proceed through this project? Everything's on track?
We're moving as we expected.
Good news, thank you.
I have one last question that, again, just raised across my mind, because it was something you mentioned earlier. Did you polish the concrete floors in the rooms? Or did we end up carpeting?
We carpeted and tiled in 3 pots.
Okay. That was my question. I kind of wanted to know what they look like. But carpet. Thank you. Board, any other questions? Okay, thank you so much. All right, that brings us to M, consent calendar. A motion to approve.
Move to approve.
All right, we'll move to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And that will move us to N, old business, N1, administrative services selection of a member to Citizens Oversight Committee for the General Obligation Bond Measure R as a premise tonight for action. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
It is on page 125.
Just point that you need to say the person's name.
I'm sorry, okay, administrative services selection of a member. What do we got here?
I'll make a
Whoever makes
substitute
the-
motion.
Whoever makes the motion needs to say the person's name.
Okay,
So I'll make a substitute motion to approve Diana Carey for the selection of member to Citizens Oversight Committee for the General Obligation Bond for Measure R.
I will second. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll move to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Moving us on to O, new business, O1, administrative services, 2017-2018 unaudited actuals is before us tonight for action.
We have a presentation.
Okay. We have to have a motion first. Do we have a motion?
I'll move.
I will second. All right, so we'll go to the presentation and we'll get into the discussion. Deputy Superintendent?
President Souders, trustees, Dr. Hanson. So this is the unaudited actuals, which is based off of the budget adoption and the changes accordingly. There were no significant changes because the governor signed the budget. There was no significant changes in the district's operational budget. Adjustments have been made reflecting the unaudited actuals, and you really get down to it. There's been an increase in the ending fund balance as a result of how we finished the 2017-18 school year. So the second and third columns there, we have the 17-18 estimated actuals and the 18-19 adopted budget that was passed on June 4th. When we adopt the budget, we provide estimated actuals of what we know at that point in time, where we think we're going to end the school year. And then the last two are the unaudited actuals, how we actually ended the school year, and then the adjustment because of that. The biggest issues in the estimated actuals, you see that we had a deficit, structural deficit of $4.6 million, and essentially that comes from the beginning fund balance of $13 million, and that's how our ending fund balance became $8 million, which then becomes the beginning fund balance for the following year. The big difference is between estimated actuals and the unaudited actuals was the structural deficit, which actually turns out to be a positive for us because that's an increase of $3.2 million. Increase or decreasing the decrease, double negative there. But bottom line, it increased our ending fund balance by $3.2 million. So that was reflected in the budget. So the adjusted budget reflects the revenues. There was a slight increase in revenues, a decrease in expenditures. And I do want to address the decrease in expenditures. We spent a lot of time in the budget department and fiscal services and working with departments and principals of really looking at their expenditures and what do we spend that's absolutely needed. We don't want to be frivolous, and we want to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. And so you start to see these type of results. Our ending fund balance. Our ending fund balance of $11,316,000 is made up of these components. $47,000 is our revolving cash account. That's our daily checking account to do business on a daily basis. Our warehouse stores at $55,000 are 3% for economic uncertainties. At almost $2.6 million. We've assigned almost $2.6 million, and I'll get to that in the next slide. And then we have an emergency reserve of $6 million. So the assigned, we have legally restricted balance of $495,000. That is the carryover from our restricted side of the budget. Basically, our categoricals that have not been spent are carried over, and so we have to reserve those because they have to be spent in the restricted categories. We still participate with the BIDS program through the Orange County Department of Education, so we do have money set aside for that. We have money set aside for a health benefits pool that we give out to the associations that when they're ready to have those conversations. We have school site donations and department carryovers of $293,000, so we carry that over and it's allotted to those schools. And when they start to have an expense plan against them, it will be budgeted and then it will be reduced in the holding here. We have our PARS plan, that is our early retirement incentive, our annual fee payment that we make for 5 years. This is the first year that we'll be making a payment, so we reserve this in the fund balance. And as a result of the salary increase in the retro, we do assign, because it's not yet been budgeted, so we placehold it in the fund balance, and then when we get the first interim, we make all the adjustments. It will come out of here and be reflected in the expenses. So we look at this from a graphic perspective. As I mentioned, the estimated actual budget adoption for 17-18, we had a structural deficit of $4 million, and unaudited actuals, there's an increase of $3 million. That increase here reflects up here in our ending fund balance, and the increase, and that carries out into the future years. So every year when we're able to decrease that structural deficit, we're able to have a much more robust, much more a better ending fund balance to work as we move forward when the next recession does come. And there's already hints that there are some signs that the economy may be shifting. The first month after the budget, the state revenues came in less than what was projected by the governor. So we're keeping some good eyes on the revenues as they come each month to make sure that we're in line for how our budget would be reflected in the future. So our next budget update will be at first interim, and we'll have a little bit more information at that point in time. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Board, questions, comments? Trustee Westminster, Trustee Briscoe.
Are we able to move the $45,000 of surplus funds into our special reserve for economic uncertainty? Can the board do that? We so choose?
The reserve for economic uncertainty is a calculation. It's 3% of our total expenditures for the year. It's a calculation. We put that, if we wanted to, we put that, any additional funding, we put that in the emergency reserve, which I showed in one of the slides. Monies that have not been appropriated yet, or we have not allocated them to any certain fund. So that holds as an emergency reserve. So I think $6 million as the emergency reserve, it would be better than the $45,000.
My question is, could we put that $45,000 additional to make it 3% plus if we so choose?
No, because the reserve for economic uncertainties is a statutorial requirement at 3%. So if we have a locally designated,
3% is the minimum. Can we put more money in there if we so choose?
I suppose if we chose, we could do that.
Thank you.
It appears to me that the various sundry reserve numbers that float around in our budget end up being the source of cash to pay our bills when our income doesn't match up with our outgo, to avoid short-term borrowing from the county or not paying our bills on time, holding bills until the check comes in from the state of the Fed. Are the total aggregate reserve, am I wrong in what I'm asserting, that all the different reserves really aren't reserves for economic uncertainty. They are in theory, but they're really just the operating cash source and use of money to use so that we can write checks that don't bounce. Is that amount of money sufficient to have us not go to the county to borrow money?
Your assumption is correct, but I would have to make a distinction between budget and cash flow. Budget is our plan on paper. The cash flow is what we actually go by because we don't receive all these funds that we see in the budget. We don't get that every month, and we get a portion throughout the course of the year. And as our cash flow deems, we know our expenses are coming in every month, but not necessarily the cash flow. So we have to monitor the cash flow to make sure that we can pay our bills. If we ran into an account or an issue where we didn't have sufficient cash flow in the general fund, that's where there is a resolution before you can interfund borrowing to borrow from one of the other funds to move that cash into the general fund to be able to pay our bills.
So all the reserves don't reflect an ongoing chunk of money sitting there. The reserves are a function of income. So have we had to do inter-fund borrowing?
No, we've not had to.
Thank you.
You know, I think of my own personal finances when I think of the budget because I'm a fiduciary of this money, and I think that any person that's in charge of a budget this large should think of it like their own money at home, really. And we need to save, we need to budget properly. I see we're doing that. My question though is, my colleague at the end of the dais asked if we could move the 45,000 to the emergency reserve, and of course you can. You can always move money into it. So there are some districts that have like a 20% reserve. There were at one time. It's not, let's say it's not happening now because a lot of districts are hurting. But if you think about it, and actually let me ask this question. None of these are interest-bearing accounts, are they? Or okay. So what's the difference if it sits here or there? One, it's such a small amount. I would think it's okay to leave it where it's at this point. If we get to a point where we have greater surpluses, we probably should move money to beef up the emergency reserve. There's nothing wrong with having more. The statutory bottom is 3%, but in the past we've had more. We're not opposed to that. But it just seems like we're not stable enough yet to do that, to move money. So does it make a difference where it's really sitting here?
No.
Okay.
What districts will frequently do, like we have, is emergency reserve. Now, some districts will commit funds to a reserve for a specific purpose. We've assigned them. When a board commits, the board actually has to take formal action to commit those funds, to take an emergency fund, emergency reserve, and dedicate a certain dollar amount by board action. And then it would only take by board action to uncommit those funds. We are assigning them. That's a managerial option to put monies in these different assigned accounts so that we have the flexibility to utilize them as we need.
Thank you.
So the 3% designated for economic uncertainty, that is a minimum requirement by the state that we keep that amount set aside. That
Correct.
we're not allowed to touch that, is what you're saying, unless the board decides in an emergency situation we would use it for.
The 3% designation for an economic uncertainty is statutorily set by the size of your district. The larger you are, and I mean large, like LA Unified will have a smaller percentage, but that dollar amount is huge. If you're a very small district, you'll have a larger amount, but it's not going to be that much, but it's relative to the size of your district. We cannot go into the reserve, the economic reserve. If our budget, like when we went through the Great Recession, and many districts had these issues, if you do not have enough in your fund balance to cover all of your other expenses, and you don't have enough in your ending fund balance to cover your 3%, you will go, that's when you start to look between being qualified and negative. Once you get into the negative realm, that means you have dipped into your 3%. If you cannot afford your 3% reserve, then you're going to be negative. And that's when, by virtue of that, we invite our friends at the state to come in and participate in governance here.
You say invite. Say, okay. And so, but our emergency reserve is something that we put aside on top of that.
That's correct.
So that we can use more at our own discretion.
Correct.
For what we need. So when I'm looking at the green line that you showed us in 2019, 20, 2020, 21, and we begin to dip underneath that green line, that is when you start to drop into our emergency reserves, but not our necessarily 3% for getting the government needs for it right now.
So let me make a distinction. The numbers down here, the graph lines at the bottom, this is the structural differences between our revenues and our expenses. Right? And so when they're below the zero, then those dollars will come out at the beginning fund balance. And that's what this line represents.
So I guess my question then is, the beginning fund balance, does that include the emergency reserve?
Yes.
It does.
Yes. So you see the dip here in the structural deficit?
Yes, sir.
So these monies come out of fund balance, and you'll see the same corresponding dip in the fund balance.
Okay, and then so what accounts for the rise in 2021-22? I realize that's uncertain at this point in time, but
I say the biggest changes is the projected COLAs, so that they are increasing in those out years. So that does have an impact in terms of revenues that come in, which then will offset the expenses at that time, and that's primarily the result of seeing that increase across the board, and us in our expenditure plan maintaining our expenditures at the current levels.
But all of this aside, we would not be dipping into 3% designated for economic.
That's correct.
Would we be taking down that emergency? I think I remember earlier presentations, we wouldn't even drain the complete emergency reserve.
Correct. If you would recall going in your presentations, the board's presentations, going back to 2008, 9, 10, that area, you would have seen the reserve, the ending fund balance getting very close to the 3% for economic uncertainties.
But now we're not.
No.
Right.
So just to be clear in my mind, if we added an extra $1 million to the reserve account, we decided we needed to use some of that money someplace else, could we deplete that extra $1 million and then use it someplace else as long as we don't go below the 3%? We're still able to use the money as long as we don't go below 3%. Is that accurate?
As long as that we have our 3%,
right,
then according to the state, we're in a good place.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Moving right along, O2 Administrative Services approve use of California student data privacy agreements for digital education services in front of us tonight for action. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a second to Trustee Singer. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Moving us to O3 Administrative Services Independent Contract Agreement between Ocean View School District of Orange County and Delhi Maraca Howe Inc. for school kitchen designs. It's in front of us tonight for action. And do we have a motion?
I'll second.
That was a motion by Trustee Pinehurst, and a second by Trustee Singer. Any discussion?
Yes, please.
Trustee Westbrook.
Why are we using Fund 13 money and not 21?
Deputy Superintendent?
These are designs for the kitchens, and it's appropriate use to use cafeteria fund for this type of use. So we're trying to maximize our various funds to measure our funds as we move forward.
So it's just, okay, got it, thank you.
Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Moving us ahead to 04, Administrative Services Resolution number 1819-2 for 2018-2019 GAN Amendment Appropriations Limit is in front of us tonight for action. And I will move. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. That moves us to 05, Administrative Services Resolution number 2:1819, establish temporary interfund transfers for special or restricted funds pursuant to Education Code, Section 42603 is in front of us tonight for action. I will make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion?
Yes.
Trustee Westphal?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is what was discussed earlier about this temporary interfund transfers. Can you tell me which accounts we think we might be getting into trouble with here? We might need to do some transfers. Or is this just preemptive in case we get into trouble?
I would say it's more of a preemptive. It's a best practice. It's a timing issue. It's typically done with general fund when the economic environment has gone south. And I go back to the Great Recession. Many districts had to do interfund borrowing. It's a timing issue, and from one board meeting to the next, depending on the actions that take place, some districts come very close to financial ruin just because of the economy, because of their budget. And rather than going out to get a COPS loan, they have to use a transfer of funds within the district because it's quicker. It's a fail-safe, but it's all a matter of timing. Most districts do not need it and don't use it, but it's just a timing issue because of the times. This is something that we do at the same time of the school year, at the beginning of the year, every year. We do this. I've done it in all my other districts. Unfortunately, I've not had to do an interfund borrow, but I know other districts who've had to. It's unique to every school district, but it's a best practice to have this in hand.
So we haven't had to do it. We just vote every year to have the authority to do it, but we haven't had to do it.
I understand. I'm a little confused why we're doing it if we don't have to do it. Is it time sensitive? If we run into trouble, is it a big deal that it's a time sensitive problem?
It is a time sensitive issue. Because remember, we're not talking about budget, we're talking about cash flow. And depending on the governor, the legislature, when the economy starts to go south and they start making deferrals and make changes in our appropriations, that's what they're dealing with, is our cash flow when it comes into the district. And if they change the percentage of the funding that we get, that impacts our ability to make our payments every month. We know we have $7 million or so of monthly payments that we have to make on average. And if our cash flow gets really, really low before the next apportionment, this is when we have to have that option, that availability to get other funds. And I mean cash.
And I understand the mechanics of it. And you mentioned timing. I don't see a big timing problem here. I don't see us running into difficulties. We're proving our interim or our unaudited actuals. We seem to be in pretty good shape. I'm going to go along with it because it sounds like we've done it every other year. I don't remember doing it. Only when it was necessary. I seem to do this when it was necessary. This doesn't seem necessary. It's preemptive. I understand what you're doing. I'm going to watch out for it. I don't know, 6 and 1/2 dozen on the other. I understand what you're trying to do. I don't want to get us into trouble. You do a wonderful job budgeting, and hopefully we won't need this. But I'll support it this time. Thank you.
Trustee Baindarden?
When I was elected in 2012, replacing Trustee Westwell, actually during that election, I remember when I first got on the board, shortly after this came up, and I talked to the superintendent at the time and said, why are we doing this? Do we have to do this? Should we do this? He goes, we always do this. So apparently it's been going on for a long time. I don't know the exact amount of years, but apparently it was happening well before I got here. So maybe just, it's like we forget that it goes on, because we actually never have to utilize it. That's what it is. We do it as some sort of safety net, and then we don't use it. So congratulations, because we don't use it, really. That's the whole point. But it's there just in case, so that we don't have to go out and get cops and bonds and do loans and things that are actually riskier for us than this. Okay, thank you.
And I think my only point was it's not time sensitive, so if we got into a cash flow problem, we could do it at the next meeting, or we could have an emergency meeting, because it really isn't that time sensitive. But it's a small little thing. I'm okay with it. Thank you.
All right. We'll move to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. That'll move us to 06, Educational Services Affiliation Agreement between the Regents of the University of California and Ocean View School District of Orange County, Sewinville Rose School of Nursing, University of California, Irvine, is in front of us tonight for action. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Yes, please.
Trustee Wood.
This item says there's no financial impact resulting from this agenda item. But as I understand it, we need to provide for uniforms. We're going to be doing ID now, some sort of identification cards. I've got questions. Are we going to be fingerprinting these folks and doing background checks? Because I didn't see it required in the contract. And if it's not required, then they're not really obligated. So how are we going to address those issues of fingerprinting, background checks? And then I guess it's just soft costs of uniforms and IDs and that sort of stuff.
Superintendent? Or Deputy Superintendent?
We don't, but people pay for their own fingerprinting. We don't pay for their fingerprinting. And the ID badges, that would be a cost.
Okay. How do we confirm though that, I know they're gonna pay for it, how are we gonna confirm that somebody was fingerprinted, somebody was background checked? Because I understand it, the university is gonna be selecting students and then sending over to our campuses, and they're gonna be walking onto the campus, and there's gonna be different folks rotating through here. That's my understanding, maybe I'm wrong.
Yes, this is very similar to all, like, for example, student teachers. So there are processes and operations within the Human Resources Department that we have documentation that shows records of all of these individuals.
Okay, so
Just as a person who, at some point many years ago, you have to get certificates of clearance to be able to, and that you meet all of these different requirements before you can actually participate.
understand. My concern is I don't see that requirement in the contract here for different requirements that they have. I read through the whole thing and it eluded me. So I know that we require it, but I'm not sure we're communicating that to the university effectively, that's all. That's my issue with raising it. So it's perfectly understandable to me that we have these policies in place, but it may not be clear to them, and I don't want to have any kind of he said, she said thing when it all comes down to it. Somebody starts the finger pointing process. And that's my only concern. Maybe I'm wrong.
Trustee Singer?
If you look at page 151, it says students shall be subject to the rules and regulations of
Affiliate and university. That means they're going to be under the obligation of following whatever rules we have set forth as far as coming into our campuses.
What page?
So
151.
it's page 151.
Where is that?
Item
C. Sorry, D.
D.
Very good. Skip right over that. Thank you so much. No further questions.
Trustee Baindarden?
Dr. Hanson, or sorry, President Souders,
Yes.
what uniforms? I don't know what this means, uniforms, that we're paying for uniforms, what are we paying for?
If you could show me where that is in the contract, then I can maybe better answer the question.
It's actually under C, and it says if affiliate requires students to wear any form of uniform, affiliate shall provide and maintain such uniform at no cost to university students. So that just means the students I think you're referring to are the students that are coming in as nursing students. We don't require them to wear uniforms, so we would not provide.
Okay, I heard my colleagues say we have to pay for uniforms, that's why I'm clarifying that we don't.
We don't.
We don't?
We would. We require them, but we not require them.
But we don't require them.
This is their contract, and we don't have a particular uniform for the nurses.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. That moves us to 07, Human Resources Memorandum of Understanding between Aliens International University, Inc., a California benefit corporation, and Ocean View School District of Orange County is in front of us tonight for action. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second. Okay, so that's a second to Trustee Singer. Any discussion?
Yes, please.
Yes, Trustee Westwell.
Same exact thing. Maybe somebody could correct me. Because my eyes seem to be getting too old here. My question is about our requirement for fingerprinting and background tests. Yeah, that's it. It's in the contract, right?
It is in the contract. Mr. Avila will show you where it is.
It's on page 169 at the top, number 1. This is continue to be in compliance with all applicable federal, state, and local laws, including without limitations. Privacy and protection, advertising, marketing.
That's federal, state, and local laws, but this is a policy.
This is a memorandum to engage with the university, so for student teachers or interns. And so when we work with the universities have them fingerprinted and TB, and they meet all those requirements before they can work with us.
Okay, that's state law then?
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. If I'm not mistaken, I've been wrong. I've never been wrong, but sometimes mistaken. We are at the end. All right, P. Any other public communications to the Board of Trustees? Clayton Tarvin.
We do not have any others this evening.
Thank you. Future agenda items as requested by board members. Board, any future agenda items this time? Okay, we'll move on. Our Board of Trustees roundtable. Trustee, we'll go from the inside out. Trustee Briscoe.
I have nothing to contribute.
Trustee Clayton Tarvin.
Well, tomorrow's the first day of school, and unlike Trustee Singer, I'll be dropping him off at 2 school sites. My little son, Max, is going to first grade at Hopeview, and my older son, Tony, is in his last year at the Ocean View School District. He's in 8th grade at Mason View. I can't believe it. It almost gives a parent anxiety. Some of you have been there.
Should.
Oh boy. But you know what? He's gotten a really great foundation being at the Ocean View School District, and I know that this last year is going to be even better for him. He's had his ups, his downs. He's had his favorite teachers. He's had his favorite things to do at PE. He's just, you know what? Ocean View is such a great place. It's a nurturing place. We have wonderful employees. I've never had my child come home and complain about a teacher. Can you imagine? Most kids will come home and go, my teacher did this or my teacher did that, but it's never happened here. That really speaks volumes to what, how professional our employees are, and I just want to thank all of you for everything that you do. And really, I'm going to be at 2 schools tomorrow morning, and it's going to be really exciting. So can't wait to see everybody back in action tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Singer?
Well, I want to wish everybody a wonderful beginning of 2018-2019. I am excited again. I only have 1 drop off and 1 pickup, so I have an extra 15 minutes at Starbucks possibly. So anyways, I just want to thank again all of our employees for an amazing job, especially our maintenance crews. I mean, they really kicked some serious butt out there this summer. So thank you for everything you you guys do, and I look forward to an amazing school year. So thank you guys.
Trustee Westwood?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank all of our employees that worked diligently over the summer. It was greatly appreciated. We don't say thank you enough, and so thank you. And I look forward to a wonderful school year. Thank you.
I will echo those sentiments. We do not say thank you enough to our classified staff, as well as the teachers who get, I know you guys get busy these last few days, the first few days of school with classified staff. Thank you so much for preparing our sites and getting us ready for the first day of school. We're almost there. I can hear the ice breaking. We are just a few hours from lunch. I'm going to cut it short. I don't see any of the teachers in the audience. I'm glad they got home to get some sleep or do some more last minute planning. Thank you all for attending once again, and we'll move on. That brings us to S, closed session if needed. It is not. We finished everything up the first time, and we're at T, return to open session. Again, not needed. We didn't go to closed session. We're at U, adjournment. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All right. Any discussion? No discussion. All right, here we go. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Happy first day, people. Let's get it done. The meeting is adjourned at 7:27.